was never the most talented player. I was clearly not a Power Ranger. Okay, that's clear. All right. I'll never forget Peter before the game, Newlands, Cape Town, from playing against France. And he just said to me before the game, last year, you were very bad. This year, you're less bad. Don't go embarrass yourself.
There we go, Ruckers, and this is episode 101. Not out for Behind the Ruck. Guys, thank you so much for the celebrations last week. Thank you so much for all the good wishes and the messages.
Merci.
We appreciate it, but this train will keep on rolling, okay, guys? So welcome back. This is Thursday, maybe Friday, Saturday, Sunday. I don't know when you're catching up to your number one rugby podcast, but this Behind the Ruck is powered by SuperSport Bet, okay? Download the app, get your skin in the game, sit back and relax and have fun with us as we will be talking a lot of rugby once again. Ooh. The international season is almost here, but today we give a lot of credit.
Hey, Proteas, in house. Oh, champione.
Ole, ole, ole. Okay, guys, we are proudly Proteas this week as they've done a magnificent thing. For the past 27 years, the Proteas have not won a major cricketing tournament. But this past week, Themba Bavuma, Aiden Markram did this country proud. And again, no DNA, just RSA. Let's go. Guys, I'm the short one. I'm the round one. Next to me, I've got my partner in crime.
Juan de Jong in the building, hey?
Very
no
good.
RSA, no DNA. The boys did that thing, hey? Another one. We're lifting it up now, okay?
No, that was magnificent, and we're quickly going to talk about cricket. But the atmosphere at Lords, the South Africans going out singing Themba Bavuma song, singing Aiden Markram's song, Aiden Markram's knock 130.
Wow.
Brilliant.
The boys were incredible, eh? He's not a test type of guy, but he had to keep an eye on the boykies, eh?
No, it was excellent. The way we caught in the field, the runs we scored, crucial, under pressure runs, the partnership between Themba Bavuma and Aiden Markram setting us up for victory. You guys are legends, and I hope when you come back that we celebrate you accordingly.
Yes, we're going to celebrate. And they were laughing, okay, Ruckers, you were laughing. Themba was sleeping. Okay, but he wake up, okay, he's a champion right now, okay? Respect on his name.
Absolutely, boyki.
Hey, is it showtime? You said 101 Dalmatians?
101, not out.
Not out.
101
Dalmatians.
No.
Okay. Guys, what we expect on Behind the Ruck, we're going to keep it simple, okay? We've got the big man in the house. Gurthrö Steenkamp, okay? We're going to, short arm and scrum a thing or two, okay? And then afterwards, we got a bounce player of the season. Not week, season. We're changing it up a little bit this week. So we keep it nice and short. So strap yourself up, get your coffee, get your blankets nice and cold. It's showtime, hey boyki?
Yes, buddy.
Straight to him.
Straight, let's get to Guthrö. Let's not keep the Ruckers waiting. Let's talk some scrumming, rugby and all things life.
Ons maak hom klein. Ons gaan daar toe. Okay, up next, Gurthrö Steenkamp. Oh, Ruckers, we're in the engine room. We've got the Scrum Maestro in the house, okay? He's got over 50 Springbok caps, over 100 Toulouse caps, okay? They say Lou said props, don't talk a lot. But today, we got to talk a lot. We got a one and only Gurthrö Steenkamp in the house. Welcome, Guthrö. How's things?
Oh, guys, great to be here, man. Been loving you guys' show, and definitely makes my traveling easier. Those 4-hour drives from between Toulouse and La Rochelle. I mean, guys, you crack me up. It's awesome. But great to be here. Privileged to be here.
Great to have you. So you're in Cape Town for a little bit? Yes, sir.
No. I'm not in Cape Town. I'm in Paul.
Let's be clear on that. We're going back home, okay,
back
to the roots of
yes. No, back in the Cape for 2 weeks. Got a bit of time off, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Our season has come to an abrupt end. And it's really good to be back. Good seeing familiar faces and most important, to be surrounded by South African people.
Yeah,
and Guthrö, you mentioned earlier traveling between Toulouse and La Rochelle.
Yes.
So you don't stay in La Rochelle. Am I hearing that correctly?
No, actually, I do stay in La Rochelle.
Okay.
I got a nice little student flat with minimal furniture, and my wife and my kids are living in Toulouse. So because they settled in Toulouse, that's where their roots are now. So they are full on Toulousain. And got their friends there, And myself and my wife, we just made the decision to keep them. And funny story, my oldest has moved to La Rochelle now. That's another story on its own. She's not living with me.
Okay.
But just giving the kids stability. You know, when we moved over to France, being far away from our families in South Africa, it wasn't easy. And the kids have created their identity there. So every 3 to 4 weeks I travel back to Toulouse, see the family. And it's funny how things have changed, because when I get home, my missus is super excited to see me, but for the wrong reasons, because I'm the one that has to make the food every single day.
And clean and do the whole
And are you a good cook, Guthrö?
Honestly, I'm great, man. I've mastered the frozen burrito recipes, you know? And so like my freezer is stocked with about 30 frozen burritos. And, you know, it doesn't look like I'm doing meal prep, but I mean, at the end of the day, I got to eat. But yeah.
It works,
Yeah, and that's the great thing about, you know, you're alone in La Rochelle. You know, you got to occupy yourself. So I kind of learned to cook. I wouldn't say I'm a chef, but I definitely enjoy my KG chicken wings and slow-cooked ribs.
What is the distance between La Rochelle and Toulouse?
423 kilometers.
What? How long is the drive?
It depends how tired I am and how hungry I am. So if I'm not that tired and not that hungry, it's about 3 hours and 45 minutes.
Okay.
If I'm feeling peckish and I'm slightly tired, it can easily go to 5 hours.
It's quite a distance, yeah.
Guthrö, you say you're visiting Paul. Did the family come with you? Are you by yourself currently in South Africa?
Well, actually, my family is with my in-laws in Umhlanga at the moment, and my missus, they will be joining me today, actually. So I'm about to go to the airport after that, but my kids have no idea I'm in South Africa. So, so that's going to be a nice surprise. I haven't seen them in 3 weeks.
Hopefully they see you before this episode comes live. They will find that, Guthrö, for you as well, I mean, you in La Rochelle now, for the Ruckers that doesn't know, you're a scrum coach of La Rochelle. Talk us through the last couple of seasons. I mean, 2-3 seasons ago, it was Investing Champions Cup finals.
Yeah.
And now,
two in a row.
Back to back. Hey. And now, how's things, especially Investing Champions Cup and also the top 14 and the season for you guys?
Yeah, it's been a tough season for us. You know, we got an unbelievable group. The amount of players we have. You got TKB, you got Dylan Leeds, you got Winnie Antonio, Will Skelton, all these unbelievable. Greg Aldred. Some amazing players, and we experienced some great things. You know, the La Rochelle fans are unbelievable. What we experienced in the port of La Rochelle, I've never, ever experienced something. Having 50,000 plus people waiting for you. It was unbelievable. Last season, we still managed to make the playoffs. You know, it was up and down. We realized, you know, after winning back-to-back trophies, especially a team that have not won any titles before, everybody's targeting. Like basically the mindset of all the other teams in top 14 was, if we beat La Rochelle, our season has been made. So all of a sudden we were the hunters, we've become the hunted. So, you know, targets on our back. So teams prepare weeks in advance for us. So obviously we had a tough season, especially January to March, 3 months without any wins. I can tell you as a coach. Sundays were not that great. You know? Even if I listened to Radio Sonnegrens, listening to church, it was tough. Taking an inspiration.
And La Rochelle was a passionate supporting town.
Yeah.
The 3 months you say no losses. What was that support like? Was it a grumpy old folks, the Frenchies, or were they still firmly behind the team?
No, honestly, they were firmly behind the team because we have over 100 consecutive games where the crowd has been sold out. So we got about 16,000 supporters. There's a waiting list of up to 4 years. Either somebody has to pass away or move for you to have a season ticket at La Rochelle. So speaking under correction, probably more than 80% of our crowd is season ticket holders. But it was tough. Luckily, I'm not on Facebook. Apparently, there were some comments, and on X, there were some comments. But the people would pitch up for us. You know, they would still give us the guard of honor, cheer us on. They are passionate people. You know, it reminds me a lot of South Africans. But the Frenchies, they go above and beyond sometimes with all the smoke and music and the dance and everything.
And that guy coming in and he got stuck in the stadium.
Oh, that was at Toulouse,
The Frenchies, they do different things,
Yeah, they're crazy.
And I mean, I've played there as well at La Rochelle. I mean, the crowd is fantastic. It's always a sellout as well. And it's a tough place for any team to come visit. I don't know if you felt that as well when you played against them and even at your time there. It's quite a nice little stadium. capacity of full.
It's unbelievable. They've renovated a bit. Honestly, it's a beautiful stadium. But the directors or the club of La Rochelle, they put a clear strategy into place. In the beginning, they wanted to have a team that can just stay in top 14, and then all of a sudden it changed.
Yeah.
Then it became a team that needs to win titles. I was an academy coach my first 2 years of La Rochelle, and our missions were to develop players to win titles. So that kind of changed the dynamic in terms of the pathways. But great infrastructure. The La Rochelle players, there's a strong identity. Players want to win, they want to do well. We've always had a strong pack. But unfortunately for us, this season was one of a tough season. I experienced it back in the day at the Bulls.
Yeah.
You win in 2007 and 2008. We get those jokes like, who's the strongest team in the championship? Is the Bulls. If you turn the classement, like we say in French, upside down. So no, it was a tough one, but the vibe at La Rochelle is unbelievable. It's just amazing.
It's brilliant, yeah.
Guthrö, I've been of the opinion that French rugby or the French competitions, and that is top 14, Proteas, is the best in the world. The fact for me is that every game has got a certain amount of consequences because there's promotion, relegation. You coaching in that, is that how you guys also perceive it, as this is the creme de la creme of rugby, club rugby in the world?
To be honest with you, I totally agree. Top 14 is the best championship in the world because you have so many international players there, and you got the best French players. The level of rugby in France has gone up, skyrocketed.
Yeah.
When I arrived in Toulouse in 2011, it was like I was playing rugby in slow motion. It was so slow. I was like, what is this? Super Rugby was intense. It was fast. But the game has evolved, and I do believe that's due to the influence of the foreign players.
Yes.
They have raised the standards because in the past, French players were not that professional. And we've seen it in the past with the French team, let's say about 6 or 7 years ago, their wheels would fall off after 60 minutes. Now they can go all the way. They're better conditioned, they are fitter, it's way more professional. And the clubs are investing a lot of money in the facilities and in the staff as well. But the intensity of French rugby, it's amazing. Top 14, anybody can win. In the past, you were, so to say, guaranteed with your home games. What we've seen this season, you can lose some at home as well, which did happen to us. And we lost against your old team, Van. My goodness. Oh, my goodness. That was intense. Yeah. And then we had this weekend with the final of Pro D2, Montauban, that won in the final. They haven't played, I think, in almost 10 years in top 14. They were nuts. It's the first time in history that the 6th seed of the competition made it to the finals.
Yes,
and then they were not supposed to win because everybody like Grenoble's going to give him a big hiding. And Montauban beat them.
Yeah, and they've signed the Sikombuzo Noche.
Yes, and he's been playing unbelievable.
Yeah, yes.
Unbelievable rugby. So French rugby is intense because I think the season's longer as well. So you got to be really precise in your preparation and your management of the squad because you play about 30 plus games in French top 14.
And you would say the French rugby is under up because you spoke about now the international players coming over, but even coaches as well, Ronan O'Gara and these boys lifting the French rugby. But does that help the junior structure as well? Because we had Heine Adams a couple of weeks on this episode, and he said he knew Jalibert when he was 15 years old, and look what legend he is, Louis Belliberry, when he was 17 years old. And these guys, I mean, as youngsters and as French rugby players coming through, learning from that, would you say French rugby is going to dominate world rugby in a couple of years, or where?
Look at what I can experience in terms of, you got the French league. So they would pass on to all the academies what they call un cahier de charge. So that means that means they got certain guidelines which each academy needs to respect. So in terms of the formation of a player, that means he needs to have a degree. And then they got this whole checklist in terms of the path of what are the skill sets they need to work on. And it's very structured and organized. So things we saw in the past, which was seen as the French flair, like you say, jeu debout, keep the ball alive, that is trained. That is trained. So we are teaching players to offload. We are teaching players how to free up their arms and get the pass within the contact. We are focusing on refusing going to ground. So there are specific skills which are drilled into the skills at a young age. So what you then see is that we're getting them to play in space, keeping the ball alive. So when they get into a professional setup, then you add the conditioning, the strength work,
Skills.
add them structure. So you give them structure, but also freedom as well at the same time.
But that's my concern, actually. Developing the young players, especially in our youth when it comes to South African rugby. In our schools these days, it's mostly just the structure stuff, you know, a plan, where to run and stuff like that.
That is an interesting part. That's why I want to ask Guthy, the buy-in. Does all the clubs buy into this, half of this, making sure we do the checklist and not having...
Develop individual skills.
Yes, and not having that where it's my way or the highway, ek sê hier waar ek is. That type of mindset. It does all the French clubs, especially when it comes to the espoirs, buy into that?
Yeah, they do. They don't really much have a choice because the French Federation is in charge in terms of that. So, and you also, there's, how can I say, you got like a leaderboard for the academies. So whether it's games won, whether it's regarding to education. So there's this whole pride thing as well, you know, about how many players you develop that play in the French youth teams, how many players going to the French national team at some stage. So you got this whole scoring system and it's become like their badge of honor, you know, like the clubs. You can see, okay, right, Toulouse is the top of the log for top 14. And then we look at the log of the academy players or the academy teams. So also the clubs, they get a lot of financial rewards if one of their players play for the French team. So that has an impact also on the salary cap of the professional teams. So there's a massive emphasis on the development of the youth because the more international players that develop, the better for the club. And just in terms of that whole badge of honor as well.
It's amazing. And Ruckers, that's why I always say this is the number one rugby podcast because this is the type of thing we don't know in South Africa. We don't understand. We just see friends the past few years, they dominating the under-20 championships. We see French national team. All of a sudden, they've got depth at 5, they've got depth at 9. But there's reasons to this. There's a method, there's a strategy to this. So this is why you need to be tuned in every Thursday. Number one rugby podcast.
Indeed, G as well. Okay, you obviously known as Coach G. Yeah, coaching as well. But also there's a saying, no scrums, no win.
Yeah, for sure.
Talk us through a bit of your scrum philosophies, how you see it. Obviously working with fantastic, incredible international players also. How do you see the main department, the engine room?
Yeah, so it's a philosophy which I created called the Scrum Dominator Mindset. It's something which I developed as a player. There were times in my career I struggled, and the biggest thing for me was there were not a lot of resources back in the day, and I had to kind of figure it out for myself. And I asked myself, like, wow, if I was a prop, wouldn't it be great to have these drills and specific framework on how you can be more dominant in the scrum and how you can be more consistent in your performance. My philosophy, it comes down to very simple pillars. It comes down to the technical side, having a great level of technique, a good understanding of the scrum. Then there's the physical part. You need to be conditioned. You need to have power. You need to have that strength, that agility, that ability to win the lactic battle. Then there's the mental side, your mindset, your preparation. Then there's the tactical and also the strategical side of things. So those are the key pillars which players need to work on in order to get that dominance in Scrum. So I always tell them repetition leads to sustainable habits. And if you have a sustainable habits in place, it will lead to sustainable performance. But it's having a clear understanding of the Scrum. And today's already obviously different. There's a lot of treachery going on, a lot of dark arts going on, for those names we shall not be mentioned and stuff like that. It's a bit crazy, So I had to kind of like bring the Harry Potter vibe out to kind of slaughter all those demons that are trying to take away the importance of the Scrum.
And talking about those dark arts for you as a coach, let's say your team goes into a game, Guthy, where you've got the strongest Scrum. There is a certain of dark arts happening within the first 20 minutes. How do you guys fix it, and what does that communication look like throughout the game?
So that's a tough one. Look, I'm old school. I just recently spoke to Owen Franks on our podcast as well, and we spoke about in our days, it was that badge of honor. If you dominate your opponent was within the laws and because you were stronger than them. I mean, I had years of battles against Cole Heyman, Owen Franks, and some days I would smash Owen Franks and some days he would smash me. That was life. And then after that, you have a beer together, you have a chat. You know, it was different. But today, if you're playing against a stronger team, which is in our case, which we experience in La Rochelle, teams deliberately cheat. You know, they deliberately collapse the scrum, they hinge, they crank, they refuse to engage, they're stepping back, bailing out of the fight. You know, it's like a guy, you know, he slaps a guy and then runs away. You know, that's what's happening in the scrums at the moment. So it makes it very tough. So as a coach now, I have to anticipate what I call the threats in the scrum, the treachery. So I have to teach my players how to counteract treachery. And I say to myself, you call yourself a prop? Do you really feel proud if you cheat?
Yeah.
Shame on you. Shame on you. You know, sometimes I wish it was the old days. You just get a ruler and hit them on the face.
So you would say there's a cheat code. Is there certain ways in terms of
loads of cheating?
This way you're cheating, this way because the ref is on this side, or what?
But players are manipulating because to be fair towards the referees, okay? And I've said this before. I was kind of like misquoted, and I said the referees are not specialists. What I'm saying, they don't have the specialist eye. But I can tell you this: in France, the referees, we've already had 3 Zoom calls, which lasted about 2 hours, helping them to have a better understanding of the scrum, the key indicators in the scrum, when a team is collapsing, when a team is being deliberate. So from their side, they want to keep the scrum an important part of the game. So they, like we say in French, I hate it, it's like démarche. It means they got the system in place now where all the coaches are involved, off top 14 and Pro D2. Everybody giving their 2 cents. So after those meetings, we have a clear checklist for all the referees, and they've got a huge coaching platform for the referees where everybody is being evaluated on their calls in the scrum and general decisions. So in France, there's been a massive, massive effort to try and eliminate the cheating because we want to keep it the integral part of the scrum. But it's tough for referees, and players know that. So I always say, everybody's got to come to the party. The coaches, the players. If you want to keep the scrum part of the game, you got to be respectful about it. You got to keep that values. And just to all the props out there that are cheating, shame on you.
Shame on you.
Dark arts.
And you as a former referee, what do you look at when you stand there and you look at the scrum?
Look, buddy, that for me was the toughest thing. The maul, Guthrö refed about 6 games. But the maul in the scrum, I had 0 clue. I could only pick up maybe when the loose head throws his hips out to the side and goes in on the angle when I can see the number. That for me was the giveaway. But when it came to the tight head, I had no clue when the tight head was in the wrong. I could clearly understand a little bit of the loose head. That's where I feed the ball. So I had a little bit of knowledge about what the ref used to say when I was playing. But when it comes to the tight head and the dark arts there, I never had a clue.
Where he's binding or...
When he's hinging, I could see when his feet is maybe too far back and he's leaning. That I could pick up. But once the engagement is happening, who's in the wrong, that for me was difficult.
Yeah. And when it comes to scrums, is it all 8? Is it important that your hooker is strong as well?
No, it's collective effort. But I just maybe to help Paige, you know, to maybe give him Find the Villain 101, you know.
Help me please. Help me please. I don't know if this is going to help because he's retired in the department.
Don't worry.
But help him please.
I'll explain it in language Scrum for Dummies. So the main thing is, if you look at a props, you've got 2 props in the individual battle. And you've got one who has got his back parallel to the ground. And maybe he's low and he's down, he's fallen. And if you got another prop that's like this, that means he refused to get into the battle. If you got one prop that's all out, parallel to the ground, his back, and another prop that is in an A shape, as we call it, that is already a clear indicator who is at fault. And a good one for the referees as well, the tight head. If the tight head is under the chest of the hooker, 9 out of 10 times is boring. So that's maybe that will happen.
Sorry, Ruckers, we're talking scrums to them guys. When you say the tight head is under the hooker, is it on the bind?
No, I'm talking about the opposition hooker. So if the tight head is angling in and is underneath of the chest of the opposing hooker, there's a clear indication that he's bored in. So normally we want the tight heads to attack the space between the loose head and the opposing hooker. But if you find a tight head under the chest of the hooker, 9 out of 10 times is bored in.
Another question that ek is nou excited for scrums. When the props are binding, right? And they don't present a square, what does that do to the scrum when they hide underneath the hookers, maybe the hookers shoulder? Does that have an influence on the way they scrum, or is that a bit of dark arts that they're trying to do?
In the past, it used to be dark arts, but what we see now today, the level of scrummaging, if you're hiding your shoulders, it's tough. You need to kind of be aligned to be on a united front as well. But you can look at the angles. I always tell the referees, look at the angle of the hips. So sometimes you got the upper body sort of square, but the hips are kind of turned in. So that's a great one. But to come back to your question, the scrum is a collective effort. When you have two strong packs playing against each other, it comes down to just one player not doing his job. So especially with our flankers, we brought the concept in French. It's called suricat. Suricat, that means meerkatting. We don't want any meerkatting. We don't want guys like heads up, looking. You got to stay in the fight. And it's a collective effort. Everybody has a distinguished role, responsibility and stuff. But we won't bore you too much. I know you're going to fall asleep.
No, not today.
You would have been a meerkat.
No, not today. Not at all.
Gatti, since playing Lucet, over 50 caps for the Bokke. Then going into coaching, as you said, academy years. Now you're coaching one of the best teams in the World Club. Has your philosophy changed over that time? Are you constantly changing the way you see scrummaging and moving around the way you coach scrummaging from playing to now where you're as established dominant scrum coach for the best, one of the best club rugby sides in the world?
No, obviously you have to evolve. You're learning every single day. What might have worked when I was playing might not work today. What I've definitely picked up is that, and I'm not talking about South Africa, I'm talking just in general in the world, players today are different.
Yeah.
A lot of us, of our generation, we were obsessed by rugby. We would watch 5 games. We'd get up. I remember when I was younger, getting up at 3 a.m, watching the Springboks play the All Blacks or watching Super Rugby. We would get up to watch rugby. Youngsters today, some of them don't even watch rugby. So from a coaching point of view, you need to do it differently. You need to educate them differently. Even your team meetings, you need to approach it like a Instagram reel or a TikTok or a YouTube video.
So they can understand.
You need that hook. You need that 30-second hook to keep them engaged.
PlayStation-wise or Fortnite vibe, just to make them understand.
But it's different because the generation today, they're spending time on their phones. They're playing Pro Star and they're on TikTok, they're on Instagram, they're all this type of checking their likes, checking their views, buying houses and all those type of things. And other guys are on Fortnite, PlayStation, all those things. It's different. So just had an interesting chat recently with Dr. Cheryl Calder and talking about the attention span of rugby players today. It's changed. So now as coaches, you have a small window to get the right information out and actually get your strategy in place. But in terms of my coaching philosophy, it comes down to one simple thing. It's about belief drives behavior. You got to believe in something bigger than yourself. That's what rugby is all about. It's not about, yes, as an individual you want to perform, but what are you bringing to the party? All right? We know we all have a good time when there's good snacks.
Yes.
All right? You got, if you're in Cape Town, you got your samosas, you got everything. You're good. You're good. I'm always snacking, boerewors, everything. You got to bring something to the table. That's the most important thing. And we all hear this. We say the same things over, but genuinely being obsessed with your vision, and that work ethic, and that's something I try to instill with coaches. I was never the most talented player. I was clearly not a Power Ranger. Okay, that's clear. All right. I tried to get the suit. It did not fit and it was tight and it wasn't too complimentary. So the only change of direction I would have was my stomach used to move from the one side to the other, and that allowed me to create momentum. Actually, funny story. We actually got a clip back in the days with the Bulls where I bumped the guy with my stomach. He tackled me in the middle, and all I did was push my stomach out, and I bounced him.
Okay.
It was that simple.
Find a clip and send it to us. You want to show up because that clip,
Yeah, so it comes down to you might not be the most talented player, and I believe in this. If you are willing to put in the consistent efforts, you can develop the skill set. And that will allow you to develop your talent, improve your performance. 2025, for me, the big theme has been grit. So you might have talent. We always say talent gets you in the room. But what are you doing to keep you there?
Hard work beats talent,
Talent combined with effort allows you to have an acquired skill acquisition. And skill combined with effort will lead to sustainable performance. So those are the type of things I try to install into players. Having a process in the week, doing your work-ons, putting in the effort, and not just seeing training as training. It's an opportunity for you to become better. It's an opportunity to achieve your goals. But I'm a firm believer you need to be driven by something bigger. And when I was playing back in the day, my dream was to play for the Springboks. Not because I wanted to say I'm a Springbok, because what it meant to our country, what it meant for my family. You know, having parents that experience apartheid, for players like us, players of color, to represent that country and say, you know what, we deserve to be there. And I was driven by that. It was about inspiring a nation, you know?
You need that. You need that extra motivation. And I mean, these days, when we were like youngsters, you know, you got to eat, sleep, rugby to become a professional. And it's way different now. But I also want to know, when it comes to loose head prop and a tight head prop, okay, what is the key fundamentals you would think makes a brilliant prop? Okay, because I mean, Oxy said strong core, strong legs. What do you think is the key fundamentals of dominating every scrum?
It's tough. You know, firstly, like I just mentioned earlier with the pillars, you need to have a certain level of technique, which is very important. But at the end of the day, you just need to have that burning desire to annihilate the opposite, to dominate. I always used to love it, you know, when I could feel that bones are crushing and I can use it. In the scrum. You know, there's no better for you. You need to have that will to want to dominate your opponent. It needs to be that, you know, that badge of honor, you know, that pride. That's what it comes down to. There are the technical side of things, you know, for loose head, he needs to open up the left side of his chest, stay up and, you know, attack the heart of the scrum or the heart of the tight head. And in your tight head, for example, here's what you would call, got to close the window. He's got to stay down. He's got to land that plane. And it's a bit tougher because he's got two guys in front of him. But at the end of the day, if you want to dominate the scrum, comes down to developing your own unique routines. Because if you're changing your routine consistently, in the game, you will have different results. So it's having a certain routine. You need to be fit as hell, strong as hell. And then the mental side is not having that mindset, that hunger, that willingness to dominate. And then most important is your tactical awareness. Having ability to adapt. If my opponent is cheating or for some reason they're doing something differently, being able to reconnect with your team and then actually find the proper solutions.
I can't understand why you can win 3 scrums, lose 3 scrums, or maybe go 6 games on a bounce and then you get dominated. Because there's a couple of, I mean, even like this weekend as well, we said Wilco Low is dominating the whole season, but this past weekend, we felt it a bit. So I'm not too sure. What is it? The all 8? Is it the individual? Is it?
It's a lot of things.
My last thing, the question I always want is: you get tall props. Then you get short props. The thing there, like you took Rabah Slamani, you know that played for Clermont and played for Stade Francais, came on, brilliant scrummaging performance against the Bulls. The same Julian Riedling is a few years ago, short of stature of nature, good scrummager. Then you get tall props, Karl Heymans, the Gurthrö Steenkamp. How does that, is height a thing or not?
No, it definitely plays a role. I think as a tighter prop, if you're shorter, you have a clear advantage, because you want to stay as low as possible. And for taller, loose head prop, it's always tough because the tight is constantly trying to take you down. So you need to be strong in your core. You know, you need a strong posterior chain as well. So there's a lot of conditioning involved and using your thoracic spine in order to kind of like generate power. You need to understand how to generate power in the scrum, which is the most important. But it is tough sometimes when you have different profiles. You know, you've had back in the day, you had a Bismarck du Plessis, tall hooker. But he did his job. You know, it's about eventually just getting yourself into that position to execute your role. That's the most important. So if you're a tall prop, you can't be too high. You need to get nice and low. You need to win
table.
You need to win
table.
that table.
But I mean, they get the money, okay? A loose head prop and a tight head prop, it tains the money.
Especially in France, they are valuable acquisitions. I don't know if that is the right word, Ruckers, that I've used in context there, but it's out there on the internet.
I still don't know why Guthrö is still working. We should have Guthrö, I'm coaching for you. I mean, the transition after rugby, you obviously retired in France. I don't know if it was a career ender or whatever the transition was. Was it always coaching? Or How did you see your transition?
So obviously my career came to an abrupt end. It was in 2017. I was 36. I was still physically and mentally good. I was working with a former French SNC coach called Bruno Dallariva. So I started training. I was fit. I was running a Bronco 554.
Yes.
I was fit. And unfortunately back then Toulouse made the decision to get rid of all the old guard, which I understand, which is normal in rugby. If you look back in the day, you had guys like Thierry Dusautoir, Pato Albacetti, Luke McAllister.
Sure.
You had all these legends. And we're all 30 plus, we're 35. So you can understand it, even though it was tough. So then I had a stint at Stade Francais, and that's where I beat my Bronco score. I had to run a Bronco, and if I didn't get a good score, they wouldn't have taken me on as a medical joker.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, and so I was
What
running.
was the score?
554, man. I was running for my life, man.
Is
Running
it?
for that last contract.
Come on, Kelpies.
Running for that last contract. But yeah, so then it came to an abrupt end, kind of like made peace with it. It's time to focus on life after rugby, and I want to become a coach. That's always been my dream. Always wanted to, because I experienced some tough times. A lot of people, they see all the glamorous things of rugby players, but nobody back then helped us. How do you deal with pressure? When you're not getting selected, what's your process? What do you do when you're not performing well? Back then, we didn't have these resources available. And I wanted to become a coach that can provide players with the framework, with the solutions, how to deal with pressure. It's okay not to be okay. All right? Because if you go back, if you're injured and you pick up 20 kgs, something is wrong, man. I understand. And that was my case. I picked up 20 kgs after being out for 2 years. But that transition into coaching, I had this dream, I had this vision, but man, it was hard.
Yeah,
Really?
When you stop playing, you have this idea of how things, and not everybody has that luxury when they're done playing, they just walk into a gig. Some guys get this opportunity to be on television.
Looking to my left, looking to my right.
And it was hard because all of a sudden when I started applying for coaching jobs, I wanted to become a coach, clubs would say, sorry, you were a foreigner. Or they would say, no, you played at Toulouse. You're going to come spy on us, and after 2 years, you're going to go back and you're going to share all our secrets.
Wow.
And then the famous one was, sorry, you were a big international player and you're going to overshadow the coach. So that was all those crazy things. And I was like, how do I start?
Yeah.
I just see doors are constantly closing. And that's when my journey started. I wanted to help props and individualize scrummaging, helping them to find that dominance in the scrum. And back then, nobody would help you. How do you put this into place? So I thought back then, by just putting a post out on Instagram, want to improve your performance in the scrum, send me a DM, come over. And then you just hear crickets. Nobody.
Because you think you got through, they will come.
But then, it's probably the best thing because I learned so much, because then I started coaching at youth level, under 15s, did my French coaching course, which was very tough. 1 week per month, listening in French, studying in French. I was training. Normally, you have to do it. It's compulsory. It's called the Diplôme d'État. So it's called the DEA. So you need to have that coaching course to coach in France. If you don't have it, you're not allowed to coach professionally. So I had to do that for 1 year, 1 week a month. You had a full-on coaching course. Started coaching amateur in the local clubs. I was a volunteer at the club. I helped put things into place for them. And then I eventually got the opportunity at Colombia. And I was great. And I was just as a consultant. But it was tough. You lose your identity. It's like almost you go through what we call imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
You were a good player. You were a great player. Now you're starting from zero. Now all of a sudden you feel like you don't have credibility, or people don't respect you as a coach. They respect you as a player, but doesn't mean you can become a good coach.
That's the thing, yeah.
And my path was kind of unique, because in rugby, let's be honest, it's not always the most skillful coaches that get the opportunity. It's about who you know. That's the reality of rugby. It's about, but that's also understandable. It's about relationships. It's about who you trust, who you have in your corner. We have seen that with the success with the Bulls and the Box. There needs to be trust.
Yeah.
And then the opportunity of La Rochelle came, which was actually funny because that wasn't a classic route. It was actually after Instagram Live that I was doing. Because I was sharing a lot of stuff on social media, and then there was this time, it was in COVID, so I was trying to inspire people. I'm talking about the scrum and just losing my stuff. And anyway, and then the next day, Jonah Gibbs rings me. He says, "Oh, mate, Jonah Gibbs, yeah? Okay, cool." He's like, I saw your Instagram live, mate. Would you like to come coach at La Rochelle?
Yes.
I was like, what? So yeah, that's how the opportunity started. And funny anecdote as well. Jono, he left the club, so I thought he was dead. And then the director of rugby called me. Are you still interested in the job? And the funny story was the director of rugby was Robert Moore, who was the guy that was the director at Stad Francais back in the day.
Was your Bronco?
So he said to me, that your journey ends here. You are done. Unfortunately, we can't keep you. And it was a funny story that he was the one that called me again. Would you like to be the scrum coach at La Rochelle?
Wow, that's cool.
Tables have turned.
Yes, that is impressive.
Yeah, don't burn your bridges. You got to bless them.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah,
That's something I actually need to learn, Barry.
What?
Because I'm a very emotional human being. So sometimes
If you don't feel like
when I'm in the moment, I don't think further than that moment. So that is actually a trait that I need to constantly remind myself of, not burning bridges. When you're feeling some sort of way or feeling someone has treated you unfairly, rather hold your tongue, regroup, go home, and then you take it from there. So that is something, Paddy, that I haven't done particularly well in.
Yeah, but you're maturing now, so you'll get there.
I'm hoping I'm getting there.
And your knowledge, you're obviously sharing it as well. You've got a podcast, The Lessons of the Game,
Yeah.
with Ben.
Ben
How's
Pegner.
that going? I mean, is it also tough?
Hey, man, it's tough, man. But look, I'll tell you this. The reason I got back into podcasting, and a lot of people say, but you were a full-time rugby coach. You know, why in the podcast? Is it like an image thing? I said, no. Once again, it comes back to the basic fundamentals, about sharing our knowledge.
Yes.
Sharing the lessons we have learned from our game. And I'll be honest with you guys, love what you guys do. It's unbelievable. You guys, format's different. You got the funny side of things, but also the insights and sharing that rugby IQ, which is brilliant. And I'll be honest with you, it inspired me a lot as well, seeing how you guys have evolved over the years. And it's something which I'm passionate about. I've always said, you know, I'm sitting in France and I'm a South African. How can I inspire the young rugby players in South Africa? I'm not here. You know, I'm here for 2 weeks. I'm going to do a lot of coaching. We're going to Paul Boy's Eye, going to Hamilton's. And I've just been recruited by you. So it's a way of giving back and the stories we get from it. We got this interesting story from a dad in the UK. He said, guys, your podcast helped me to mend my relationship with my son.
Oh, wow.
Because the dad and the son was clashing, but the son is a young rugby player who wants to play at the highest level, 15 years old. So they started to listen to the podcast in the car together, like on their way to rugby training, on their way back. And the stuff that we shared with them, the lessons we have learned and we shared with them, it's like, okay, Dad, now I understand what you were saying. Now I see what you're trying to do. And it allowed it to bring them closer. And also young rugby players that have lost all motivation, saying, thank you. Listening to your podcast, it inspired me. It helped me. And it's similar to what you, different format, but that's what we're trying. It's about inspiring people.
Yeah.
If you achieved what we have achieved at that level, you have a responsibility to give back. You have a responsibility to share your knowledge and your experience. It's about creating something bigger, and it's about playing a part in our future stars of rugby.
Yeah, and we also think like giving back informed the people and the viewers. But I mean, me personally is learning as well. I'm learning from the people that's been on this podcast. I mean, I'm getting educated. I'm getting informed with a couple of things that I'm taking forward. So it's always like a win-win situation when it comes to it. Yeah.
Definitely, we had Anthony Watson on, and he shared a story. You know, former England rugby player, you know, British and Irish rugby player as well. And he told us the story where he was coming back from an Achilles heel tendon tear. He was 4 months into his injury. And he went to go do a photo shoot. And just by catching a rugby ball, he stepped back and he ruptured his Achilles again.
Sure.
And he ended up being 18 months out. And his message there was, you got to keep the main thing the main thing.
Yeah, let the main thing
Not
stay
getting sidetracked by all these sideshows, marketing stuff. It has its role. PR is important. And even for myself, a coach, I'm doing a podcast, I'm doing some other stuff as well with my online coaching courses. But the main thing needs to remain the main thing. And that's my job at La Rochelle.
Yeah.
It's priority.
What is yours saying? The candles thingy?
Yeah, lighting candles, yeah.
I like that because that is what I'm picking up from Guthrö also.
Yeah, the main thing's got to stay the main thing.
And what is our main thing at Behind the Ruck?
It's your number one rugby podcast. From the boys.
Guthrö, with the podcasting, biggest challenge so far. What have you guys picked up? Because I think we can see a lot of what we've done wrong. What has been the biggest challenge for you guys behind the scenes?
Behind the scenes, I think it's about, what are we trying to get out of our guests? What's the message? Because a lot of people, for us, it's not, and I'm sure it's the same with you guys. It's not just about, okay, let's hook up our mics, let's just have a chat.
Yeah.
It's like, this is the guest we have. We got Anthony Watson. What can he bring out? What lessons can he share? But where the challenge comes is when people don't have a digital footprint. Oh my goodness. There's no digital footprint. And then you got to contact people. Then you got to try and find stories and hear what they've been up to. And for some reason, some people are great coaches or unbelievable, but there's no digital footprint, and that's tough. And I think the biggest challenge has been is like, you get this unbelievable guest and it kind of like raises the bar.
Yeah.
And now you're constantly comparing it to that.
Episode.
And often what we have found is that when we in the heat of things, like an episode is finished, we're done recording, and we're like, oh, that wasn't good enough. Oh, that was rubbish. And it was, I messed up there.
Yeah,
Ben, why did you say this? Gee, you should have done that. You should have. You weren't listening to the guest. The guest said you should have
forgot
at
this
least
question.
Whatever. And then we listened back. We're like, okay.
That was decent. That was good.
Yeah,
It's quite good.
we're the same.
It's exactly the same. And we didn't cover that topic. We had G on. We should have asked him that. We didn't.
I'm not happy. And then we listen to the first draft and he says, it's brilliant. The Ruckers must check this one, which is always good. Yeah.
But the most important thing is what I enjoy about podcasts. Like I mentioned it too earlier before we started recording. There were 3 months we weren't winning a game with Rochelle, and the podcast became a source of inspiration for me with the guests we had on. They were sharing their battles. They were sharing their experiences, and that just inspired me. And then getting the feedback from our audience, oh, wow, that was amazing. That was great. Feeling that sense of accomplishment. So that allowed me some of the stuff which I learned on the podcast, I applied it into my coaching.
No way.
Yeah.
Really?
I do the same, I do exactly the same. You learn so much, and you can take that, especially senior coaches, and we had like Coach Johan van Graan and Nick Mallet and all these coaches on. You can take that and apply it into your type of coaching, and then that's how you grow. That's how you earn your stripes as well. Yeah. Did you get nervous for any guest, or because I get nervous? We get nervous before every episode. Actually,
you know what? I still do get nervous. Especially when it comes to the intro, I always say, man, I hope I'm not going to mess up the introduction. So I try to make a nice intro. So now sometimes I do the whole chat GPT thing, get it out and then go, and then sometimes and you know what? We make mistakes. At the end of the day, we don't, even though with the production, we don't overhead it. We leave the ums and the ahs. We make the mistake. We're not looking for perfection. At the end of the day, it's about, we are human beings.
Yeah.
We are human beings. And
gonna mess up.
But a funny story, we recently had Ali Williams on, and and obviously we're getting lessons from the game. We're trying to get proper insights and, what is your internal driver? What's your intrinsic motivation? And I said to him, mate, you started playing rugby at the age of 16 and 3 years later you became a All Black. What changed? And I was expecting All Black legend. Gee, mate, it's a young man. We all got certain desires, and I just realized that girls preferred rugby players. It was that simple. And he said to me, like, I can invent some crazy story, unbelievable story,
and lie to you.
But the reality is, rugby players got more goals.
Brilliant, Ali Williams.
Some play for cars, some play for family, some play for girls.
And after this episode, make sure to go check out the episode. Go and subscribe to them. Get the lessons from the game from Guthrö and them on their podcast. Please, guys, let's do this. It's called collaboration. Let's
make
connect.
the circle bigger. Kati, I've got one more questions. Okay, you spoke about obviously challenges, your transition in coaching, those 3 challenges on your podcast as well, but also your rugby career. I mean, you had an incredible career, over 50 Springbok caps, a Rugby World Cup medal, Super Rugby titles.
Don't do the inverted commas.
Super Rugby titles.
Say it
2010 one. Let's talk about those challenges in your rugby career. Was there any challenges on and off the field and how your processes and stuff was in your career?
No, obviously, there's loads of challenges. I always share the story of 2009. We were there as well. We played against Leicester Tigers. I got demolished in the scrum. And after the game, I was told by the coach, you will never wear the Springbok jersey again. And I was contemplating hanging up my boots because I was taking criticism all over the show. Headlines in the report back then was, Gurthrö's been castroed. And what people don't get is that, and even back in the day, playing for the Bulls, you would lose a game, you're sitting at the restaurant, and people's like, yeah, look at them, they're counting their money. That's why they're sitting at the restaurant. You should be training. You go to a movie. Shouldn't you be sleeping? You know, stuff like that. You go to the supermarket. Why are you not training? Well, I need groceries to make food.
Did a lot.
And it was tough sometimes being in the public eye. It was hard dealing with that pressure. And I'll be honest with you, no one provided me with resources for that. And there were times there would be some excess, whether it was going out late, whether it was binge eating. And there were times I really doubted myself. And there were times I felt alone. There were times that I felt I was an embarrassment to my family. And people don't get that. But coming back to 2009, I was ready to give up. I had enough. The public criticism, and back then, you know, we had to deal with a lot of things. Okay, he's only there because of the skin of his color and all those type of things. And I just had enough. But then I was actually in Paris at the time, and I realized I was couch hopping. I was couch surfing, if you have to use that term. Then I realized, and I asked myself, okay, your parents have sacrificed so much for you. From what they've experienced in their lives, what you're experiencing right now, is it really that hard? Are you kidding? All right, you get to travel the world, you stay in great hotels, you having great food, access to great food. So what is it? What do you want to achieve? Who are you doing this for? And it reminded me of the stories my dad would tell me. He used to be a great footballer. He didn't get the opportunity due to isolation, the amount of work he had to do, when he got a pay cut, when he had to write colored on his form, all those type of things. The challenge is like, listen, this is not about me. This is not about, it's time for me to take up arms, stop sulking, and I need to take back what is mine. And that's where it started. That I had this clear plan, clear strategy, and for that you need a team. I had my Bulls teammates, I had Gary Botha, I had Basil Karsis, all these guys. And 2010, I said, you know what? I'm going to take back what is mine and what I've worked for. The people, my village that have sacrificed everything for me. And another source of inspiration for that was my dad told me this once. My dad was elderly in our church, and he was at the prayer meeting, in Paul, in a not such great area. And he went in there into this community and loads of people. And for 1 hour, they were praying for me.
Yes.
And my dad said they couldn't even offer tea. They had no groceries in the house. They had no bread in the house. But they were praying for a Springbok that was sitting in the Cullinan Hotel in Cape Town. So it's like, how can some people that have almost nothing pray for somebody that has almost everything? And I'm just getting goosebumps. That response, it's not about me. And that's what I started playing for. It's about inspiring youngsters, inspiring people, showing that you can be down and out, but it's about getting back up, taking back up arms, and chasing your dreams. That's the most important thing. But it came from hard work. It's not just a decision. So that was definitely a massive turning point for me. From the background of that, I got back into the starting team with the Springboks. I'll never forget Peter before the game, Newlands, Cape Town, from playing against France. And he just said to me before the game, he says to me, last year, you were very bad. He didn't use those words. I'm not going to use the K word. He was honest. He's like, last year, we were very bad. This year, you're less bad. Don't go embarrass yourself. just before we're about to run, what the hell? And anyway, had a great 12th of June on my birthday in Cape Town in front of the family, scored a try, and my rugby just went up, and that led to the opportunity to play for Toulouse at the back end after the World Cup. But coming back to the challenges, being a rugby player is hard. It's tough. At the end of the day, we want to do well, but we have added responsibilities. But one of the biggest things that I've learned is no matter how bad it is for you in that moment, there's someone that has it worse.
Yeah.
You gotta put those things into context.
Always worried about what
Feel
you
like
have,
you're
but there's
speaking
people there's-
straight to me. Like honestly, buddy.
Yeah. To us, I feel him.
Like sometimes, I think I'm gonna go off topic again. Sometimes I sit there and I stress about money, and you stress about this, and you contemplating. Like I'm typically the past years I've been very lost, man. Not knowing the refereeing thing I wanted to do with it didn't work out. Then I'm trying business. Now I'm trying a bit of broadcasting. But that part I like because I always think I'm like the worst off, and I'm disappointing, and you kind of have that low thoughts of yourself.
There's
And
people fighting for other things, man. We're fighting for maybe to pay the car, but people are fighting to have bread on the table. So it's different type of pressure. And Cornel actually said it in his episode as well. Pressure, this is not pressure, what we're dealing with. I mean, pressure is basically when you stand in front of a bomb and you have to cut black and red, feeding your family, getting food on the table, those type of things. It's special, yeah.
No, it's so true. I was driving the other day back to Toulouse, and I was driving with one of my colleagues, and he was this guy with this, I think it was an Audi R8. He was just blasting by, and a turquoise color. Who does that? And he just blasts by. I'm like, and I'm cruising, chill, relax, and eventually it starts pouring down, raining. And he pulls his car, puts a cap on, and we're like, lekker grief for you. Lekker nat. And we're like, yeah, good on you, payback. And then it just jets past me again. It's raining, it's storming down. I'm slowing, and luckily I slowed down because I saw just water flying up with one truck going past. And then next minute, I just see stuff on the road. I thought he had a tire burst, and here's the car spinning around. And I was like, and my colleagues just going like, you just realized what happened. This car spun on the highway, and if any other cars rammed against us, we were gone and done and dusted. And in that moment, look, we all have our different. We're not here to talk about religion. We all believe in something, whether it's a higher power or it's a belief system. I was just like, thank you. It's about, you got to take time. And even when time, this is my secret, taking time to acknowledge what you're grateful for. This morning I took some time, we had a bad season. Our season has ended. But now I get to be back in South Africa, reconnecting with former teammates, get to spend time with my family, going back to the roots. I'm still deciding if I'm going to run my old jogging route I used to run there in Nepal. I was still deciding it. But
it's different age now.
When we experience tough things, and this is my biggest advice, when something happens to you, identify it. Yeah. Like, this just happened, this is bad. But then you got to switch. Right, what's next?
Yes.
What I'm going to do? Who am I going to do it for? So when we all experience tough times, and my biggest driver is my family.
Yeah.
It's my family. You got to provide for them, but you also got to focus not just about what you can get, what are you giving, showing up for other people. It's all you got to do. Show up like you guys do on this podcast. Don't underestimate the value of this podcast. You guys are showing up for people. People, you allow them to feel in one episode. That's what I love about your show. You can feel good about yourself. You can learn something. It's brilliant. And you get inspiration. And that's why for people that are in broadcasting, like I'm not close to the same level you guys in terms of podcasting, but if you can change the mindset of one human being, just one, inspire many. It's that simple.
Yeah, each one, reach one. Giving back, yeah.
Class.
Gatti, thank you very much.
I would have loved to speak another hour.
He mustn't give me, the helmet. He needs a helmet for all his compliments.
Don't worry, I'll give you a needle. You can just pop it a little bit.
Thank you very much for making the time, Gatti, man. I mean, it's you're only here for a couple of weeks, and you have to travel up and down and go to Pepe's in Paul and see the family. But to make time for us, we really appreciate it, and well done in the great work. I mean, it's always tough to do it, especially out of the country, and showing your work at other places around the world. It's fantastic to see and inspirational for all of us, especially.
And I think to see how successful a lot of you guys are in France, it also inspires us that played with and against the rugby community that success after rugby is possible. And that is cool to see, especially, obviously we got the social media now, so we see success through that. But I think a lot of players post-rugby do see other guys doing well, and that encourages and inspires them to keep going. So
no, I think the main thing, if I can just leave you guys with this message, and don't ever underestimate who we are as South Africans. I can tell you, I'm living in France, But I can tell you, I miss South Africa every single day. I miss my family. I miss that sense of community. We are different. I remember before the World Cup in 2023, a lot of my colleagues said, listen, you guys are not going to make it. You're not going to lose. You're not going to win. The French are going to beat it. I mean, that stage, France was number one in the world for years. And I mean, I'm coaching these guys. I'm preparing them to be at their best. So obviously, when that quarterfinal came, it was a tough one for me because there's some of the players that I'm coaches, and I'm also South African. But we are different because there are some things you just can't explain. Rugby has this power, and there's a lot of people, and you listen to all the critics, stop this thing, you guys are playing for a bigger purpose, and it's a religion. It is. If you take us back to 2010 when we played in Soweto, the images we saw, people of different backgrounds having braais and getting along. South Africans are different because we experience the worst possible conditions at times. But it's our ability to come together and to unite which allows us to experience great things. So congratulations to the South African cricket team, what they just achieved. It's brilliant. And that's what South Africans, we never give up. We never back down, backs against the wall, and a lot of other things that might not go away, but there's something special about us. And that's the great thing about social media. I love coming across these reels, seeing the South African pride coming through, and hopefully the nation can get out of his depression, seeing that Box will start playing soon.
Dragons du Plessis. Hulle weet nie wat ons weet nie. Resilient. Thanks, Guthrö. Really appreciate the time.
All right. Thanks, guys.
Hey guys.
That's Gurthrö Steenkamp. Life lessons.
Maak hom klein.
Life lessons.
Crouch. Bang. Sit.
Lekker.
Now we know what thing to do, eh?
Brilliant conversation.
100%. No, the man is doing fantastic work, especially in La Rochelle. They've been fantastic these past couple of years, and just good to see that they're successful and just keeping busy.
I look, Ruckers, you guys know me. I'm a very deep human being if I'm not making jokes. So I got a lot from that conversation party that I will apply it into my life.
100%.
How to deal with challenges. But I really enjoyed it. And I hope you guys enjoyed that conversation as much as we did having
100% enjoyment indeed. But then you enjoyed something special, something new, okay? On Sunday, we had a results review, debut, first cap.
Brilliant.
Fantastic, fantastic. Yeah, but Ruckers, if you don't have the opportunity, go back. We had a Sunday review this past Sunday, and we'll obviously give you another one, okay? International games coming up after the Barbarians game, the Italy games, and also the Georgian games. So catch that on Sundays as well.
It will be in 2 weeks' time, okay? The 29th of June, 7 o'clock, we will have a review show again where we can interact. It's not just us talking all the time. We can interact. You guys can leave comments. You guys can leave your opinions on what happened in that first Springbok game for the year. So do not miss that one.
Interacting with our Ruckers, which is crucial and special because they can ask us questions.
As a so for allemaal.
For allemaal. With Christian Swanepoel talking a thing or two, Cornelius Rousseau saying a thing or two.
365, I think.
Yes, and they put the seatbelts on, eh?
But I want the seatbelts off Sundays.
Okay. To get involved, Hey, partner? That's some incredible stuff, okay? Are we going to the Bounce Player of the Week?
Yes, it's the end of the URC.
Yes, Bounce Player of the Week, but we're changing it up, guys. This is your Bounce Player of the Season. This is made just for you by Brightrock, the associate sponsor of the Vodacom Bulls and the DHL Stormers. And we're going to go with the boys in the final.
Come on. All right, it didn't go our way for the Vodacom Bulls, but this player particular had an outstanding season. I think he had 6 Bounce Player of the Week's awards throughout the season. It has to go to our number 3, our tight head prop. His legs is as big as my dreams. It goes to Guthrö. He gets my Vodacom Bulls Bounce Player of the Season award. Well done, boy.
Well done, Wilco. I didn't expect that. He's got a couple of caps,
Couple of caps. Special mentions to Ambrose Papier, outstanding season. Marcel Coetzee, I thought you were brilliant throughout the season. And Cameron Hannekom, those guys were in contention for the Bounce Player of the Season. But Guthrö, he was just the point of difference. Okay?
100%.
Well done, boys.
The Pops are doing the things. The Proppies are doing the things.
And the DHL Stormers.
DHL Stormers is the one and only. Okay, I'm going to shock you a little bit. It could have been anyone. Like I always say, okay, brilliant season for guys like Shasha Feinberg and Gomezulu, Dion Fourie. You got, all the other boys as well. But this time, okay, it has to go to the workhorse, the unseen work, okay? Ruben van Heerden. I mean, if you look at his stats stats as well. Haven't missed a tackle. He's got a 90-70% tackle completion, and he's been unbelievable. The unseen work, the breakdown stuff, the tackling and stuff like that. Things people don't see, but it's very important when it comes to a team. So he's my bounce player of the season. Eh?
Nice,
100%, guys. Hey, congratulations. Hey, for incredible season indeed. Yeah.
Fantastic episode, Party 101, not out. We're closing to that international season.
Yes.
Upcoming game. There's an interesting one Friday night. We got the British and Irish Lions up against Argentina in the Aviva Stadium. It's confusing, but it's happening, okay?
It's happening, yeah, because the BNI is coming up soon, yeah, and then we got the Super Rugby final.
Yes.
The stuff that we like. Crusaders
Chiefs up against the Crusaders in Christchurch.
And the
last game in that stadium also.
Is it?
Yes, they built a brand new stadium down in Christchurch. So they'll be moving away from the temporary one that they used over the past few years to move to a brand new stadium. So well done, New Zealanders.
Yes. Change it up. Yeah, they're moving a thing or two, yeah. And a lot of other stuff coming up as well. I mean, top 14 semi-finals coming up, and you know, France Rugby's up and going. But yeah, looking forward to a couple of games.
Exciting. Exciting things, Ruckers. And I want to continue to ask you guys to like, share, and subscribe for our channel to grow. We need you guys to subscribe if you like our content, okay? If there's still some roofkijkers out there currently watching, don't be a roofkijker. It's absolutely for free to click the subscribe button and do your part, okay? We'll do our part, get the best guests on, get the best topics, and make sure that this is always fun. Okay? Jy moet subscribe en share.
Doen jou ding, okay? Get your skin in the game.
Om te point hier, okay? But guys, Behind the Ruck is always powered by and supported by SuperSportBet. Download the app, make the switch, get your skin in the game, and thank you for your continued support, SuperSportBet. We appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, we appreciate them indeed, yeah. Keeping the lights on.
En licht is anders.
Okay.
Take your flow maar alles aan.
No, incredible page, yeah. I mean, we're growing. It's episode 101. And in which we keep them guessing, okay?
Always.
With our results review, we got a couple of other ideas that we need to spark it up as well, and we're fully behind our
But then
people.
I want to make a special mention. Sorry, Ruckers, we have a new water on the tables. If you guys see Mountain Falls,
yes,
they find value in Behind the Ruck. So if you have to choose between waters, choose Mountain Falls.
Mountain Falls. Okay, sometimes good to Salapanje, okay, and Amanji. Okay, you drink your Amanji, okay?
Okay, and on Amanji's note, Ruckers, I am Rudy Pace.
I'm Juan de Jong.
And the Ruck is clear. See you guys next week.